Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I haven't done this in a while. Well, let me make sure it's up first. I know I've been live a lot today. Let's see. Yeah, I've been live a lot today. It's Sunday, man. I decided to. Oh, Facebook. All right, yeah, I can't share that like that. So I haven't done this in a while. I used to do a segment where I would go through an interview at the exact same time of the interview, being that I haven't seen the interview. Just kind of watching a particular interview at the same time. Now I saw a segment of this, but I realized when it first came on that there was a lot of this that I hadn't seen. So Richard Wolff is talking to Varney on Fox Business News. Richard Wolff is a devout Marxist. And he's talking to a devout plutocrat. Now, talking to a devout plutocrat, he is in the belly of the beast in this case. I mean, granted, if the man calls himself a socialist, he has a certain idea of the world, your worldview. Certainly, he's in hostile territory. He knows he's in hostile territory. Can you imagine? The socialist walks into Fox News and all of them have their eyes leering at him, just staring at him. Staring at him. What is this thing? What is this animal? What is this beast that has stepped into our studios? Fortunately, Richard Wolff is up to the task. The man is immensely educated. He has a degree from like Harvard, Princeton, and Yale. I mean, he's even a PhD. So I'm going to appreciate this. And I've been curious about these type of conversations. To have somebody that devoted to capitalism as Fox News. Now, here's the thing. Varney is British. Now, that's nothing necessarily wrong with Varney. That's not his fault for being British. It's the accent. It's one thing to be a plutocrat. Oh man, it's too much to be a plutocrat with a British accent. It just comes across. It just comes across a particular way. Brits, I'm joking, man. I love Brits. There's a cat that gave an interview to David Cameron. Yes, this was a detour. And when David Cameron would have conversations in the dispatch box against whoever he was going against, whether it was Miliband or Cameron, there was a very particular tactic that British politicians use of. They also did it. Meaning Tony Blair was so far to the right that the Conservative Party could just say, well, hey, when they were in power, they did the same thing. That worked for them. That worked for them. The British cat that he was having an interview with, didn't let him get away with that. Meaning, he started the conversation asking David Cameron, how many food banks were there when you took office? And how many food banks are there now? That is a damning question. That is a damning question. Because it gets, oh man, this feeds into this. It gets beyond this idea of, stop telling me what you believe in your ideologies. Tell me what actually took place. Tell me what actually just took place. Let's take a look at this. This is Richard Wolff, Socialist, versus Plutocrat, Varney, Fox Business News. And, oh man, I just love the fact that he's on Fox Business News. Like, it's one thing if he's in hostile territory. That's what I love about it. He's in hostile territory. I've only seen a very segment of this. Let's watch the whole thing. Let's see.
Coming on strong for a 2020 challenge, she's urging Democrats to reject the center and move far left. Democracy at Work founder and the New School visiting professor Richard Wolff is with us now. She doesn't go, you're the Marxist, right?
I am. Happy to be so.
In 20, I can't believe it. You're
Yes,
actually
well,
a
you know,
Marxist.
life is changing. It always does.
Okay.
What can't he believe about it? That's annoying, man. What can't he believe about it? You're a Marxist. In 2017. Oh my God, I can't believe it. How you doing, comrade? Fuck out of here. He's in enemy territory. Keep going. Keep going.
Comrade, does Elizabeth Warren, the good senator, has she gone far enough left for you? Surely not.
No, she hasn't, but I can see that what she's doing is continuing, in a sense, what Bernie Sanders was trying to do, which is to open up the question of what direction that party should be. And I think it's a reflection of what's happening in the United States as the country splits more and more between rich and poor and those who benefit from government programs and those who don't and so on. There are going to be questions about the political life we lead, and the old style is going to vanish, and new parties and new splits will emerge, and she's just part of that.
Now, look, that's interesting political commentary, bearing in mind the state of America today.
Right.
Now, Bernie Sanders, he wants to go a little bit further left, I think. He's got this single-payer idea,
right.
Medicare for all.
Right.
Now, we've got a report from the Urban Institute that says that Medicare for all, over a 10-year period, would cost $32 trillion. That's a little daunting, isn't it?
Hey, I got a random report. I mean, I just picked the highest one that I could find, and it says that this is going to be X amount of $1 trillion. Does Varney understand that we pay 4 times as much as any other nation? Like when you look at the amount that the United States pays for healthcare, it is astronomical. Not to mention, it's one thing if we're paying that much and we're getting better outcomes. We are not. We are not. You could see the fall off, meaning the death rates of the people in the United States versus the rest of the world. At a certain point, we got worse. Now, I need to find that study. But it was showing essentially the death rates of people in the United States. It's an amazing study. It doesn't even get into these ideas of this kind of social friction that allows people to die earlier. Yeah, man, these things are fascinating. But the point is, we spend more money than anywhere else in the rest of the world. We don't get better health care for that money. If you're trying to say that a single-payer health care is going to be more expensive than what we already have, nobody believes that. That's just factually untrue. The fact of single-payer health care in and of itself is to lower costs and to expand care to everyone else. Even if you say that you need to raise taxes a little bit on each person, ultimately the money that they get back in savings dwarfs what they will be paying in regards to a bump in what they're paying. Yeah, I don't know what Varney is talking about. But let's take a look. Now look, and here's the other catch. You still have millions of people uninsured. You still have millions of people uninsured. It's like, so tell me, socialists, insuring all these people is kind of expensive, right? It's kind of expensive. I mean, you gotta leave some people uninsured. Some people just shouldn't have health care. The Plutocrat versus the Socialist. I love this conversation. Let's keep going.
It's daunting. It's one of many estimates, some of which are much lower than that. So you have to kind of
But whatever it takes, you would take it off the rich.
No, I would.
By the way, you heard him say there are estimates lower than that. And Varney said, true. Varney is like, I picked the highest estimate I could find. Richard Wolff was like, you know, there's some lower than that. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's keep going. All right.
I would take it off a change in the economic system. I don't think kind of.
But whatever it takes, you would take it off the rich.
No, I would take it off a change in the economic system. I don't think whacking one group of the population to help another is a way to build a community or to build a nation. I would never do that.
How would you come up with trillions of dollars? Let's call it $32 trillion. How, by changing the economic system, how do you come up with that money?
Well, to give you an example, we have a society now in which, according to Oxfam in England, something like the richest 25, 30 people own as much wealth as the bottom half of the population of the planet. If you begin to deal with a change in economic system, you would distribute our wealth in a different way.
Ah, now
and
that's,
I'm not in favor of taking it from the rich for the poor. I'm in favor of not distributing it unequally in the first place.
So somebody has to give up their wealth, and you're the one who's going to take it.
No.
Yes.
You're going to change the system so the wealth is not distributed in that way in the first place.
Oh, well, it's already been distributed in that way. What do you have, a revolution?
No.
I love this conversation. I love this conversation. This is awesome. Because look, Varney has a point. Progressives, leftists, you got to confront this. This is like the Matrix. That's the door you need to walk through. Yes, you're going to find agents of the system. Those agents of the system is going to confront you and say bad things to you. What are you going to do? You got to confront them. Varney is not crazy here. Varney is not asking a bad question. Varney is getting to the heart of the matter. Well, wait a minute. Let's say it's not 3.2 trillion, whatever. Whatever that number is, where are you getting the money from? Tell me, socialists, where are you getting the money from? Socialists, where are you getting money from? Are you going to take it? You're going to take it? You're going to take it off of them? Are you going to take it? I love it. I love it. Now, Richard Wolff doesn't want to answer that question. At least he doesn't want to answer it strongly. Well, we're going to change the economic system. Yeah. But those guys already got the money. What are you going to do? Well, we're going to change the economic system. I wouldn't take money from people that way. Yeah. But wait a minute. But those people already have the money. It's not a situation. If you change that system today, right now, on the spot, you have magical powers. God bless. Still, the question remains, where are you giving the money from? Oh, I love it. I love it. Because, look, that's the question that you're going to get hit with. What are you going to do, raise taxes? The answer to that question is yes. Yes. Bring me on your show. You would hear me screaming, yes. I don't care who's on that stage. Yes. If you're in Fox Business News, have 25 people owning half of the world's wealth. Are you shitting me? Yes. Yes. Unequivocally. No hedge. Unrepentantly. Yes. There is no reason that its economic system should distribute wealth in a way where it would give that much cash to that few people. And if you're giving that much cash to that few people, you do not have a democracy. You don't. I'm sorry. Those people are going to influence the political system. That influence of the political system is going to lean to their needs, not the rest of the population. I understand what Richard Wolff is saying. Richard Wolff is right that we need to change the way we're organized. He's right. Hands down, he's right. But Varney is asking a straightforward question. Where are you going to get the money from that? And you need an answer to that question. The answer to that question is yes. Let's keep going. And, by the way, that's not just me talking. 60% of Americans say upper income and corporations pay too little in taxes. The majority of Americans also say they pay too much. Now, considering the wealth distribution, meaning the way wealth spiked for the top 1% in comparison to everyone else, considering that wages went up pretty much steadily for everybody up until the 80s, in which case you had that Reagan Revolution. Trickle-down economics. Nothing trickled down. It spiked, meaning the upper income spiked. The top 1%. The top 0.1% went even higher than that. 6 to 10% of Americans say corporations and the upper income pay too little in taxes. The answer that Richard Wolff is looking for is yes. Even if he needs to whisper it. Yes. Yes. Raise it. Yes. Let's keep going.
Well, that's what you do. You change the way the economy works so it doesn't distribute it to a few people enormously.
Wait a second.
Because that's why we have these struggles. We take from the rich to give to the poor, and then they're surprised that the society is ripped apart by conflict.
Jeff Bezos has a personal wealth right now of roughly $90 billion.
Yes.
That's wealth. How do you take it off him? How do you redistribute that wealth, which is now his?
Right. You can notice if you talk to Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or any of those other folks, they're in the process of giving that wealth away to charities, to whatever it is that occurs to them to do. They're famous for doing that. I have a better suggestion. Change the economic system so that we don't have one person in a position to do that.
But they've got...
Yes, I agree with you, dude. I love Richard Wolff. I agree with him. Change the economic system. And look, Richard Wolff's solution, I'm pretty sure he would prefer to go further and faster. But ultimately, he understands that he's in America and that it's harder to get those ideas. Put it this way, imagination is not the best strong suit of Americans. So he's only going to go but so far. He's in the belly of the beast of Fox News. He has Varney asking him a question he doesn't want to answer. He has a bunch of other guys looking at him, leering at him to the side, leering at him, just looking at him. Why is this socialist in the building? And Varney is asking him the question. He's putting him to test. It looks bad to not answer that question. Now, saying, I understand that this thing of we need to reorganize it. I get that. But Bernie Sanders is saying he wants health care now. He wants single payer now. Elizabeth Warren is saying she wants single payer now. Progressives are saying they want single payer now. Leftists are saying they want single payer now. This is not a hypothetical thing of X number of years later. The question is, are you going to raise taxes? The guy has $90 billion. Get your head around that. Somebody, one human being, has $90 billion. Now, the mythical money that this guy has compels a certain amount of action because we're in a game space that allows that fictional thing to compel action. It's based on scarcity. If you have enough impoverishment or people impoverished at the bottom levels of the thing, you can get them to do pretty much anything. Hey, you want your family to be safe? Here's some money. Go do it. How are you going to get health care? How are you going to get education? Now, what Richard Wolff is saying, again, it's not necessarily wrong. We need to reorganize society in a way that doesn't create these disparities in the first place. He's right. He's absolutely, completely, factually right. Society should not be arranged in a way that has society or has the people in that society at each other's throats. It shouldn't be arranged in a way where it creates economic disparities. It should not be arranged in a way that destroys the environment or, for that matter, destroys the human being. We should be arranged differently. Our values aren't real. You as a human being have worth. You have an immense amount of potential of what you as a human being could be and what a human being can do. That's usually ignored. We're putting people with immense potential in cages. We're sending them off to murder others and to get killed themselves for literally just mythical reasons. This is what we do with our worth. We transfer that worth to this mythical thing of cash that doesn't exist. Am I really supposed to care that a person has a mythical thing in comparison to what that thing can do? Meaning the ability to give somebody health care versus somebody have $90 billion. You're part of a country. As a country, all of us, you can make the case that the roads, the infrastructure, all the things that this country affords you to be and you to do, it's an investment. It's an investment by the people who came before you. In some degree, you can almost say it's like rolling the dice. You're going to have some people who do amazingly well. You're going to have some people who don't do as well. It's a social contract. So yes, I have no issue with saying that somebody who made $90 billion off of the exploitation of the people in a particular country should give some of that back to make sure that the people in the country are secure. You should not have anybody in a country where there is one person with $90 billion and there's 20 million people without health care. That's insane. Say it, socialists. Say yes. Say yes. The answer is yes. Make your case, but the answer is yes.
Got it right now. They've got it. Or you've got it.
But we live in a democracy.
You've
If
got
the
to take it off
majority
them.
of people were to understand how a different economic system would distribute things in a different way, we would have the mechanism to go in that direction.
You still got to take it off them.
No, you got to change the system. Even with it, change the system.
You take it off somebody. You take it off me. You take it off Liz. You take it off Ashley. If you've accumulated wealth, you take it off.
The irony is, here I am, a socialist, telling to you, I'm not in favor of taking it from one group and giving it to another.
But wait,
I want a different system, so we're not in that box.
You've not explained to me how, when we've got this different system, magically the wealth owned by the Bezos people of this world suddenly goes away from them and goes to other people. You've not explained how this happens.
Let me suggest
It's
how we can do it.
A vague change in the economic system doesn't work.
It's very concrete. Let me explain. Suppose you had, which we already have around the world, something called a worker co-op, a situation in which a business is owned and operated by all the people in a democratic way. So they sit around and decide, like we do with political decisions, how we produce, what technology we use, and how we distribute the fruits of what everybody helps to produce. They would never give billions to one person while everybody else can't send their kids to school.
Yeah, because
a cooperative production system.
You have expropriated the wealth. Because when we get to that system where the workers sit around and decide who gets what, you've literally changed the system and taken it away from the people who've got it now. You
Absolutely.
have expropriated.
That's not what he said at all. Varney is trying to get to the point of him saying, you're taking money from people. Richard Wolff is trying to make this point to him that worker co-ops allow workers themselves to make the decisions on what they want. Ah, there we go. Got disconnected. There are ways about doing a worker co-op, man. There are ways to go about pulling that off. If you have a federal government that looks at this and says, sorry guys, my internet connection is weird ever since last night. Okay. Yeah, I'm a company. They can make decisions as a collective on how they want to do whatever that particular company is doing. One of the things you don't have is if you don't have some one person making $10-15 million, that money can be distributed to the rest of the people in that company. That company could expand the workforce. Hey guys, are you still able to hear me? I've been on and off. My connection is doing very bad things. Give me like a thumbs up or something. Alright, it looks like I'm connected, so I'm good. Alright. Alright, so the worker co-op thing I think is a great idea. And I'm going to repeat it, I don't know how much got through in the last time. The workers themselves make decisions about how they want to go about operations of the company. If you don't have one person making $10 million, that money can filter down to everyone else. Just think about it. One guy gets a huge amount of money, then the people at the bottom gets nothing. When you have everybody, for the most part, being the owners of the company, you have wealth distributed in a more fair way, more equitable way in the company itself. Not to mention, you don't have this thing of, we're going to sell ourselves overseas. No company is going to sell themselves overseas. The people in the company make more. He's just making a very simple point, a very basic point of, look, a worker co-op would distribute the way money is more equitably in the society itself without taking money off of people in that society. So on that point, I think he's right. Varney just wants to get this point across of, you're going to take money from people, you're going to take money from people. Richard Wolff doesn't want to say, yes. Paying taxes is taking money from people, but it's your contribution to the society that you inhabit. If you've done amazingly well in that society, good for you, good job. And yes, you're going to pay a little bit more just because you've done amazingly well in that society. If you were in some other society without the resources of this particular society, you would not have done as well. If you live in Pakistan, you would not be a billionaire right now. So yes, the society itself should be, it's almost like rolling the dice. Hey, Bezos made $90 billion. Bezos is going to give some of that money back to the people in that society who rolled and crapped out. Let's keep going.
Force.
Not necessary.
I'm not going to give you my wealth. You're going to take it off me.
But you agree that we live in a democratic system, and if the majority of the people want to change it, then you would go along with it. Otherwise, you're not supporting the democracy.
You are taking it off me. Somebody with a gun, a police officer, will come to my house and take off that wealth. It's expropriation. That's what you're talking about.
I'm talking about letting the people in this country and every other country decide whether they would rather have an economic system that functions democratically at the workplace, or keep the one we have, which produces this inequality that puts us at each other's throats.
Okay, we'll agree to differ. How about this one? Sir Richard Branson, multi-billionaire.
Wait a minute, for the moment, what are you guys disagreeing on? Democracy? Is that what's being disagreed upon? He's like, well, no, you live in a democratic society where the people can make a choice on how they want to organize themselves. No, you're taking money. A cop is coming to my house and he's put a gun to my head. He's taking my money. Do you want to live in a democratic society or not? Are you telling me that the people of the society can't change how their society is arranged when they realize that it's inequitable? When they realize it doesn't work? I don't give a shit about Varney's cash. I care about the economy. I care about people having the things they need to persist themselves. What's the world you want to live in? That cash, I'm sorry, it's not real. It's not real. People are. And Varney clearly doesn't believe in democracy. He only believes in his wallet. Let's keep going.
He wants a universal income for all. His rationale is that robots are taking over. Somebody's got to provide an income for the people who lose their jobs. In favor of that? In principle, are you in favor of a universal income?
No.
Really?
No.
Why not?
I've told you, socialism, Marxism, these things are changing and rethinking just like everybody else. Here's what I don't like about the universal basic income. I like the idea that we can take care of everybody, and we ought to as a nation. What I don't like is to divide society into those who work and earn their income and those who don't work and still get an income. I don't see that as healthy. I don't see that as fair. And I see that as a prescription for trouble down the road. Here's my suggestion. When we have technological change like robots, computers, let the work day be shortened. Make everybody work to do their fair share and so participate in the benefits of technology with a shorter work week for everybody, so nobody gets an income without working and no one works without getting an income. That would be a better way to take care of people than what we do now, which is use technology to make a lot of profits for people, throw a lot of people out of work, and then be surprised when they're at each other. These two.
Love Richard Wolff. Totally disagree with him on that one. I don't think it would work that way. I just don't. Like, so, let's say you worked at a sprocket factory. I can't think of the name of one of the Jetsons, but sprockets. Spacely Sprockets. Now, Spacely Sprockets. Oh, God. Let's not call it sprockets. Let's say a widget. That's going to get difficult to say. Let's say you work in a widget factory. Your widget factory, it's a good family widget factory. You guys are a worker co-op. Richard Wolff has his world. We have co-ops. And in that co-op, you have competition with another co-op. Now, a machine comes out that allows you to do twice as many sprockets. Just because you're doing twice as many sprockets, what is the other company going to do? The other company is going to get that same machine to get twice as many sprockets. At no point, just because of the competition, if you decide to lower the amount of work that you do, meaning we're going to cut down on the number of hours that we work, you're going to allow the other company to keep on going the way they're going. Meaning you're going to lose out. You're not going to have as many sprockets or as many widgets as the other company. You can see that's somewhat of a problem. The issue is competition. The competition is going to force the other companies to still behave the way they behave. So I don't know if you're going to get that decrease in the workday in a natural way. Bob decreases the number of hours that the person works. Does the other company do it? And if the other company doesn't decrease those hours, is Bob losing out for decreasing his hours? Even if you have a worker co-op, wouldn't the same thing be the case? You have two companies. One company decides to decrease their hours, the other company does not. Meaning that decrease would have to be almost be like universal, all at once, like the lowering of the workday. So everyone works 25 hours as opposed to, you know, whatever, 40 hours. I don't know, man. I've heard arguments on the universal basic income. My first thought was yes. I thought it was a good idea. Part of me still thinks yes. I have this feeling of you may run into a lot of people who don't fit into the workforce. They just don't fit. It may not be a technological unemployment. It may not be anything else. It's something about them that doesn't necessarily fit. But those people have other talents that those people can exploit in our particular society. If they're not impoverished and going hungry, then those people can do whatever they're going to do to produce in our society, meaning they're going to contribute in the way that they contribute. The way we have it now, those people will go hungry, or those people are going to be forced to do a job that they absolutely despise, as opposed to whatever they can be contributing to our particular society. A universal basic income would allow those people to do that. At the very least, it would take the stress off the bottom part of the income ladder. I understand his point, though. What is the strife in a society when one aspect of the society works and the other aspect doesn't? Does it create weird psychological eddies in that society when you have one side getting a certain resource and the other side producing it? And look, I know the money that they're talking about for universal basic income, the question becomes, how much is the universal basic income going to be? Who knows? But we're just talking about in principle or in theory. In theory, I'm for it. If it increases public health, I'm for it. I'm totally for it. Does it produce a disincentive? I think it produces a disincentive for jobs that people absolutely despise. Maybe. But so what? So what? If it comes down to a particular person is able to do something else to contribute to their particular society, but they wouldn't necessarily get the chance in the society we have now because otherwise they go hungry. Yeah, I think it's a better thing. But I understand Richard Wolff's point. His point is not, you know, he's a decent point. I've heard the point made before. Federal jobs guarantee. Federal jobs guarantee. That's not on the table in regards to their conversation, but let's keep going. That's just my opinion on it. Richard Wolff may be perfectly right on this. I've asked him. I had to come to turn. I asked him whether or not a worker co-op was a capitulation to capitalism, meaning you're not really doing anything fundamentally to change the incentive structure. It's still a profit-based center where you have these little kingdoms fighting each other. I don't know what that does in the sense of ecological things, meaning are those little corporations or are those little kingdoms that are fighting each other going to do anything with regards to the environment? What would be their incentive? They still have the incentive to take oil or things out the ground and burn those things to the sky. They still have the incentive to try to go into the Arctic. They still have the incentive to frack. Those incentives are still there. Just because they're a group doesn't necessarily mean that that group is going to be for the betterment of everybody else. It's for the betterment of themselves. Yes. You've raised an income. Yes. You still have an environment that's being ignored. But if you ask me if it's a better place than where we are, oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Richard Wolff has an amazing point. He's right. In that sense. In that very particular sense. He's right. I think the worker co-op idea is a good place to go. So I agree with him on it. So let's keep going.
You realize that you now have the largest audience of capitalists that you will ever have in your life? Do you realize that?
No, I hope I will have more of them.
I hope we get more of them too.
Good. Let's work together on it.
This was a good interview. There's another part to this interview that, for whatever reason, it completely skipped it. But they ask him, what do you want it to be? What are you going to do? Or are you going to raise it? And he says something to the effect of, it should be up to the point of Eisenhower. Varney, I forget what Varney's response is, but I think Varney said like 70%. The rate at Eisenhower, if I remember correctly, was 90%. Richard Wolff was being slightly coy on that answer. It was 90%. Now, the reason it was 90%, Eisenhower was a Republican. That Republican understood that it was better to pay down the debt than it was to, you know, put money in people's pockets. Or to put money in people's pockets who don't need that money. Richard Wolff was kind of making this point in the sense of, look, your society functioned better when it had a strong bend towards the New Deal politics. When you had money flowing to the bottom, it kept your capitalistic country going. The plutocrats and the craven kleptocrats that you have in office now, if you're looking for a way to bring down this economic model, you have found it. Those guys are craven. And it being craven, they don't fully understand that. They don't even acknowledge some of the issues that are coming up. Now, beyond that, and I'm saying that like automation and so forth. Beyond that, there's a second point, and I'm going to end it. Technological innovation. Now, it's true that we're getting to the point where we can have machines to do the majority of the stuff that we're doing. That just needs to be one of those things of, yes, this is what we're going to do as a society. Because we're getting to that point, people who are making the argument, progressives, leftists, $15 an hour. Be careful. Be careful. I said be careful because your society is not at a place yet where it's rational, where it looks at the problems that's facing it and can make an honest choice that deals with the best interests of the society itself. You just saw Varney, Plutocrat, complaining to Richard Wolff that healthcare is expensive. Mind you, what he's talking about is people having access to healthcare. That's what he's talking about. Can't afford to give everybody healthcare. Yes, it's the richest country on the planet. Yes, Jeff Bezos is $90 billion. But no, healthcare is too far. There have to be a few millions of people who don't have healthcare. I mean, Jesus Christ, socialists. What are you trying to do? Give everybody healthcare? Yes. Yes. Yes, people should have healthcare. If you're a human being, you should have healthcare. Innovation, man. Technological innovation. Now, the reason I say that's a blessing and a problem, it's a blessing if the country or acted rationally and use those things to free people from work. The point of your existence is not labor. You've been fooled into thinking that. That's not the point of your existence. You as a human being can define whatever your existence is, meaning you yourself make that choice. There is no God above or no hell below that's making you be a particular thing. That is your choice. Now, problem is, you have a society of people who are conditioned to believe certain things. Meaning, when you bump into someone, it says, hey, what do you do for a living? It's almost as if what you do defines who you are. And I'm saying, that's a weird way of looking at things. And yet, that's the normal way of looking at things. $15 an hour is just asking for a wage of basic minimum wage. It's like, look, we just need enough to survive on. The problem with that is you have a technological society that's changing. So $15 an hour, and that guy, the plutocrat, the capitalist, says, it's cheaper for me to put in a machine that flips hamburgers, so I'm going to fire all of these people in this restaurant and just change it to some kind of console. That's possible. It's not that I'm against 15 an hour. I'm absolutely for 15 an hour. I am for raising taxes, all that good stuff. I'm just saying, be aware that there are certain issues associated with it that's not as clear cut as let's just do X and there are not going to be any repercussions. If you go that route, you need to be aware that automation is an issue. Now, you make automation your friend, or automation is going to bury you. Right now, we have no impetus for automation. It's not even talked about. I have yet to hear anybody in Congress mention the term automation. at all. They talk about it from the standpoint of a UBI. That's more so about plutocrats terrified that the system is going to implode because you're going to have so many people out of work, without jobs. Who's going to buy my stuff? Who's going to buy this shitty stuff that I make that they don't actually need? Who's going to buy my stuff? We need to give them a universal basic income. They need a basic amount of subsistence. Automation should be a godsend. As technology increases, human beings should use that technology to make their lives easier. If the technology is not being used to make their lives easier, it is junk. I don't mean the trinkets that you get. I mean getting rid of labor. Now look, in any society, even a technological one, there will be certain amounts of labor. But you don't need a fry cook. You don't need somebody flipping a hamburger. That's what I'm saying. There's 90% of the jobs that we do in the next, 10, 15, 20 years can be done by machines. That completely collapses our economic model. Our economic model is just purely based on people working just for the sake of working. Hamsters on a wheel, burning through one resource after the next, purely to keep people working. It's an amazing thing that people look at this and think it's a perfectly rational system. Varney looking at this and thinking, you're going to take my money from me. There is no real world. There is no real ecology. There is no potential for an asteroid to hit this planet. All that I believe in is my capitalistic bubble. Varney, the plutocrat versus the socialist. Let's see. What are people talking about? Jeremy Chase, automation equals greedy, rich people firing everyone and saying, fuck off and die. But doesn't that boil down to us, though? Honestly. You have a country of 99%. And the 99% looks at the situation and says, I'm just going to eat my Cheerios. And I'm going to go to work. And I'm going to hope my company keeps me on. They have no awareness of the larger reality in the sense of their situation. They have no awareness of their strength. They have no awareness whatsoever that they can construct the world in a way that's better off for them, their kids, their loved ones. It's a world of choice. It really is. Yeah. 70s Day 34. Just the fact that Wolff is on Fox talking to Varney about socialism shows we've come a long way. Yes. Do you honestly believe that 2, 3, 4 years ago they would have had Richard Wolff anywhere near Fox News? Not at all. You seriously think a billionaire is going to actually be for universal basic income? That's Dusty turn signal. Yeah, I do. No, Dusty, seriously, I do. Like, so, think back to the Great Depression. FDR comes in. Part of the reason that FDR did that stuff is, in his mind, he was quote-unquote saving capitalism. The reason he thought he was saving capitalism is because he understood that the system was eating itself. Just like now, he understood that the system is eating itself. The majority of the country is in poverty. The majority of the country is in poverty. You're going to end up in a situation of just automation and one thing after the next. Those people are going to lose jobs. As those people lose jobs, those people are not going to have money to buy the trinkets and ridiculous stuff that they tend to buy. That's eventually going to hit actual things, like real items, meaning those people are not going to have the things to buy just to subsist. Your economy collapses. Yeah, I do think they're going to be for it. Yeah, they did. Jeremy Chase. I just watched a 4-part series on the auto industry on History Channel. These industries fought the unions almost to the failure of their own industries. That's true. That's true. It's amazing how it's amazing how greedy they are. I mean, the greed is amazing. Like, imagine the oddity of Varney arguing Bezos has $90 billion. And he's making this argument of, What are you going to take it from them to supply people with health care? Yes. Yes. I have no issue with it. Doesn't bother me one iota. Zuckerberg or Musk running in 2020, X Factor 541. I don't see it, dog. I don't see it. Yeah, man, I don't see it. I don't see it. I heard this thing saying Zuckerberg was potentially thinking about running. The guy's somewhat of an aardvark. I don't mean, I guess there's no good way of putting that, or there's no good way in which that's put. I was going to say I don't necessarily mean that in a harsh way. It's just he's always come across as somewhat awkward to me. That's not necessarily mean he can't necessarily get into politics, but yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. That's one of those things. Old people who think they never got help, ignoring clean water rules and vaccinations, will freak out over free money for lazy, non-working bums. Yeah, that's amazing, right? That's amazing. Keep your goddamn hands off my Medicare. Keep your government hands off my Medicare, you bastards. I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's as if Varney believes that he grew up in a mud hut, and as he grew up in that mud hut, he accrued pebbles and stones, and as he accrued pebbles and stones, he built buildings for people, and those people gave him nickels and dimes, and he saves those nickels and dimes until he could get more supplies and build bigger items. 50, 60 years later, he's on Fox News, a rich person, a rich SOB. No, that's not what took place. I don't know where Varney came from, but I would wager that he did have clean water. He did have access to medical care. He did have a society, or a fabric of a society, that was wrapped around him, whether he acknowledged it or not. He didn't have people, roving gangs. He didn't have bombs falling on his house. He didn't have any of those things. He enjoyed the luxuries of a nation, a certain amount of security in that nation. And now he's bitching about taxes. That's amazing. That's amazing. I don't want to pay anything to the society. And then he's British, which makes it that much more badass. Yeah. Yeah, that argument to me is ridiculous. Bernie has got it in lock for 2020 as far as I can tell right now. X Factor 541. Bernie got some age on him, man. That's not necessarily a negative. It has to do with this idea of stamina, like whether he wants to do it. I think he was iffy about running in 2016. I think he's in his mind, yes, I think he wants to run in 2020. Question is, what if he doesn't feel like running, but he says Tulsi Gabbard? I would vote for Tulsi Gabbard. I absolutely would. Watch out, Jamarl. Bezos was having CIA contacts to dispatch you with extreme prejudice. I ain't been nobody. These people don't care about me. I mean, besides, if that was the case, they have the saying, all publicity is good publicity. Bernie should be VP. Under who? Hillary Clinton? Oh man, no man. I don't think he was looking for that job. I don't know anybody who wants that job. Well, Mike Pence. Not Mike Pence. What's his name? God, I can't think of his name. Bland man. God damn it, I can't think of his name. He would have taken the job. I mean, he wanted the vice president job, but he could get nobody, Tim Kaine, interested or involved in the process. Nobody wanted Tim Kaine for vice president. Yeah, I'm going to be there. Michael Stapleton. Progressives from around the country. We gather in the nation's capital September 8th through 10th for the People's Convergence Summit conference. Yeah, I'm going to be on a conference for independent media on that one. So that should be interesting. That should be interesting. This is the Nick Brana event, the Draft Sanders So People Party. I have to be honest, I was shocked that I got an invitation. I met Brana once. I met him twice, but once I got the chance to interview him at one of the other summit. I think it was the Left Forum. And I was really skeptical, like immensely skeptical. Like, do you really like what Bernie Sanders is doing right now? Well, no, I don't like what Bernie Sanders is doing. Then why do you believe that Bernie Sanders is going to come to your side? I mean, dude is carrying water like nobody's business. And just one question after the next, kind of dig into this thing like, why do you believe this is going to work? Why do you believe this is going to work? Now, the question to be asked is, has Brana been communicating with Bernie Sanders behind the scenes? That's the question. That's the question. Are they communicating behind the scenes? Meaning, is this one of those things where there's two prongs, both of those things in communication with one another, but both of them things are unacknowledging that communication? So at some moment, these things kind of meet up. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Bernie blocked progressives from running in Vermont. Why wouldn't he? Oh, wait, you mean to House of Rep? I mean, Bernie is from Vermont, so yeah, he's going to be running in Vermont. Nina and Bernie. Bernie and Nina would be amazing. That would be amazing, man. Look, whatever you want to think about it, you have to admit, Nina Turner taking over our revolution, that woman is a lion. So, yes, I like Nina Turner. In progressive groups, I want them to be feisty and I want them to be aggressive. Meaning, if you're going to have a group called Our Revolution, it needs to be a goddamn revolution. And look, political revolution, no violence or anything like that. But this thing that Varney is talking about, yes, you need to change the economic model. This model doesn't work. This model doesn't work for the majority of the people. If your economic model, which is subordinate to the country itself, capitalism is not, it's not magic. It's not this thing that comes out of, this holy book that God grants unto man, capitalism. No, it's a model that people built up that ends up accruing wealth at one particular end. That's all. That's it. A model of distributing resources. If that model is not distributing resources in a way that gets to the people of the nation, that model should be replaced. That replacement is choice of the people who are in that particular nation. Richard Wolff is not crazy. If the society itself came together and said we need to do something different, then that's a democratic process. Varney is talking about some level of fascism or some level of a totalitarian government where the people don't get to decide what they want. What he wants is to be a kleptocrat, and which is fine. And I like that he kind of said that. Richard Wolff is like, hey, that's a democratic thing. You're trying to take my money. I don't want you to take my money. It's a democratic process. Fuck that democratic process. I want to keep my profits. I don't give a shit about your health care. Right. right. I love this. Dax Jacobson. The corporations need to rewrite the Bible so capitalists are the good guys. Can you imagine that shit? They would call themselves the religious right. How are you the religious right? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. If there was a hell, Paul Ryan will bust hell wide open. It makes no sense. None. Zero. Jesus Christ was not a Republican. Jesus Christ was not a Republican. Newsflash. Yeah, nobody's perfect. Tulsi voted for sanctions. That's true, Jeremy. Tulsi also was the one who came out and said they're holding Syrian. The United States is paying terrorists to undermine the Syrian government, and we need to get those. We need to stop funding terrorists. Tulsi Gabbard pissed her party off when she came out and said that. The news media was shocked as shit when she came out and said that. Tulsi Gabbard. Nobody else did it. They were pissed at her. Tulsi Gabbard also was one of those people who supported Bernie Sanders and had Hillary Clinton sending her hate letters. At least it was released by WikiLeaks. It was either Hillary Clinton or somebody on the campaign, but they were not happy. They were not happy at all. Presidential debate with Trump. Trump is not a good debater. Hillary Clinton whooped him in every last one of those debates. She embarrassed him in those debates. There's an image of Trump's face at the end of that debate that told it all. It's not like he's a good debater. Look, if the Democrats put a ham sandwich up in 2020, that ham sandwich would be president of the United States. You just can't put up a corporate Democrat. The public wants something different. That's what it boils down to. Hillary Clinton was the wrong person at the wrong time. And she lost to reality show host. That's it. Don't put more on it. It's not that the Republicans were awesome. It's not that the Republicans won. The Democrats lost. There's a difference in those things. Yeah, she did. She did. Alright guys, I am going to end it here. I think there's one more that I want to do because I am pissed off at this article. Somebody wrote an article, another plutocrat, about the moral compass of the corporate class. The moral compass of the corporate class. It's amazing. Amazing. Alright guys, I'm going to end it. Thanks you guys for joining me. I wasn't planning on doing one of these tonight. I was dicking around and I saw this particular I saw this one. So look, I appreciate you guys joining me. It seems like these crowds are getting larger, so yes, I enjoy these crowds getting larger. At least I appreciate it. Yeah, communicating back and forth, I like it. I like it. I have a good time doing this. This is probably why those things go on for so long. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, write, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the work of the Patreon. Thanks, guys.